Hello and welcome back to 5-Minute Tech Tips with Dave Casuto, SF Tech Training. This is going to be part 2 of this project that we started. Hopefully you are following along with this. How to create a basic banner. All right, so in this so far project, we've created a background, okay, where we have this background here. We have this rectangle that's on here, and we also have this rectangle that happens to be a gradient and a color, and we also have an image that's on here as well. And the first thing we did was we actually created it from scratch, saying we want it to be 400 pixels wide by 300 pixels tall. All right, so, or maybe 250, whatever we said, 250. All right, so watch our previous video on how we do that. So I decided, you know what, I don't really want to do the background this way. I want to do it in a little bit of a different way. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and delete this. You can see there's a little trash can right there. I'm going to say yes. And I'm going to use this little adjustment layer option to bring in a solid color. I just want to do maybe a light gray. I click on that and you will see it comes right up, solid color. I click on that and I can see it happening in real time. Okay, and I'm kind of just playing around with the color I want. Okay, that's great. Or maybe I want it to match a particular color on here, so I can grab a little bit of that color here, or maybe that color there, right? So it's just like, okay, great. Maybe that's the look you're looking for. Maybe, maybe not. I'm going to keep it at white. Just want you to see kind of how all that works. All right, and you will see it actually comes in as its own layer here. And if I double click back on this square, I can then change the color to something else if I want to. If you happen to know all of your RGB and CMYK and all that good stuff, you can just put all those things in here very easily. Okay, let me go ahead and cancel that. I'm just going to drag this into the trash. Show you another way you could do it is working with gradient, and you'll see it pops up just like this. And what we saw in an earlier video is very similar to this. You may want to bring in one of these, right? So I'll just do like a really crazy one just like that. All right, I'll just try this one. And you'll also notice this little gear icon will allow you to load a whole bunch of other preset gradients. So it's pretty cool. So, but you may want to create your own gradient. I'm going to show you in another video how we can work with gradients entirely from scratch, where we can actually really customize it. In the last video, I showed you a little bit of that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click OK, say I like this, but I'm going to change my rectangle to be a different color. So again, I just double click on that, and I'm going to make this, let's just say, white. There you go, makes it a little more visible. But why am I seeing through this? Why isn't everything completely visible? Because of the opacity. So I'm going to bring this up a little bit more, but not so much, so I have a little bit of texture coming through here. All right, so what I'd like to do now is I'm going to copy this. So a very quick and easy way to copy this is just to hold down the Alt key on your keyboard and click and drag. So this kind of comes off of the screen a little bit. So it kind of frames things a bit, which I kind of like because I'm going to put some text inside of this. All right, so how do I bring in some text? Just go ahead and click on the T, or you can hit the T on your keyboard. This pops up. And what you're going to want to look up as on top is look at your font size first, because sometimes if you've worked with a really big font like I did recently, it's going to be really weird and it's not going to come in at all, or at least appear that way. But I need to change it from 286 to 18 and then click and drag that out. And now you'll see that I have a whole bunch of dummy text that's in there, which is pretty cool. I kind of like that. And I'm just going to keep this. I'm not going to come up with anything super fantastic or creative, but I do want to change my font. You can see I can do that very easily here. And I'm just going to choose anything. Let's just do that one. Okay. And I'm going to make it a little bit bigger by coming over to here. So then it kind of just takes up a little more space there. And I'm noticing that it's not doing exactly what I want it to do. When you want to have a little more control over your type, we need to actually open up the character panel. So I'm going to go ahead and just click on this little check mark to tell it that I'm in fact done. And anytime you want to edit it again, you can very easily just double click back on top of it. So let's see what's going on with this type. I'm going to go over here to my window panel, and I'm going to bring up the character, my window menu, and bring up the character panel. And you'll see that I have a lot of options for me to work with. Let me just drag this over to here, and you will see that I have all of this stuff for the character, and I have all this stuff for the paragraph, right? So what is making it do what it is doing? The first thing I'm going to see here is the font type, which we already know. There's the font size, and then there's something here called the leading, which is essentially the line spacing, and I also have the tracking. My leading is a little bit big. Basically, the line spacing, it's like, whoa, that's crazy. I'm going to make this 24. Let me highlight everything. Okay, I'm going to make this 24. And bring in some of my text. Let me just hit enter. Okay, and you see all my type is now in here. Okay, there was a lot in there before, so I needed to actually create that separate line because, again, this leading is line spacing. Okay, so this is obviously not what I want. There's a lot of type in here, so I'm just going to make it so I have a little bit less to work with. Okay, because the dummy text brought in a whole bunch of stuff for me, obviously. Okay, but I want to space this out, and I also want to make it a little bit smaller so it all fits in there. So let's bring this down to 12, and I'm now going to adjust the line spacing, right? So now it's a little bit more manageable, and you can see the hard return that I created here. All right, so a few things you may want to do here as well is you may want to center it. So I need to go over to my paragraph panel to do that. I might want to make this maybe all caps. I can go back to my character panel to do that. Or you might want to make it small caps, just like that. I'm going to bring this back to here. Okay, and you might also want to space it out a little bit more. And that's where your tracking comes in. So I'm just going to go little tiny increments just like that. And then I'm going to click away or hit on the check mark. And you can see, bam, there we have it. Okay, this is basically saying, hey, blah, 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 blah. This is your message right there. Okay, so I'm going to leave it at that. Keep it short and sweet. And we'll come over to part 2, where maybe we want to resize this all together. I'm also going to put a little stroke around these as well. So come over here after part 2 to part 3, and we'll see you in the next movie. This is Dave Casuto with SF Tech Training and 5-Minute Tech Tips. And feel free to like us and subscribe and do all that good stuff that I got to say at the end of these videos. All right, thanks again.